Alrighty, Joy. Hello, hello. How are you this morning?
I am well, Darling. How are you today?
I'm doing so good, and I know I'm frozen again, so I apologize for that.
You're fine.
Um, I know that you and I have spoken a few times, and I'm super excited to help you with your career journey or career search ultimately. So I would really love for you to just simply jump in and tell me a little bit about your professional experience.
Well, initially I started out as soon as I graduated high school. I was a lover of everything film and television, so that was my focus going into school. Once I started to, in my last year, I got an opportunity to work with the local radio station and also a local television station as an intern, which led to my position at Walt Disney World and at Nickelodeon Studios, which was iconic back then. But I started off with just a PA as a driver, a production assistant for the studio, and it kind of elevated from there with my connections, and then went into a production coordinator role, which I was able to hire crew and coordinate the vendors on set and the scheduling and the payroll, which was an eye-opening experience, especially with a big company like Walt Disney World, especially being on property too. They were, just getting started with Disney Cruise Lines and expanding their whole universe that Disney now is. So that was incredible for me. I love that job, but it was almost just like a freelance type of position with television and film. So it kind of went from job to job, but it grew my love of the industry so much so. But after a few years of traveling, I kind of backed down a little bit and wanted to kind of stay focused. So then I started getting into customer service and inbound calls with Medco and with Nielsen Media almost, because they also did television and radio ratings. And for that, you actually had to call customers and teach them how to wear the equipment. And that actually folded into a huge reason why you see certain television shows on TV, because it represented hundreds of thousands of households. But that look inside of Nielsen Media was incredible, because I was able to not just do the ratings for the TV and radio, but then I started working with the internal resource group for the employees, and we raised over $30,000 for the local community. So that was definitely very eye-opening. And it felt like I just kept going from one thing to another, and just kept growing my experience and my relationships with a lot of people in Florida. So I definitely loved that part of myself, and was quite amazed at how much I was learning. I started doing like a 10, I call it the 10-10-10. It was just a way to raise money. People would come in, spend $10, get a whole 10 items that they could choose from, and then 10 things that they enjoyed about the event. And that kind of give a little feedback to the company. And that was also with Nielsen Media as well. But that was a lot of fun. Let me see, what else did I do after that? Oh, during that time, I guess you could say I wanted to go back to school, because innovation was happening, technology was changing, and I needed to kind of re-educate myself and make sure I was at the top of my game. So that's what I did. I went right back to school. Uh, that led me to Full Sail University, and I pursued my bachelor's in entertainment business. So at that point, it was contracts and negotiations and artist management and things of that nature, which I was quite amazed that I was even getting into, because I kind of went from a production assistant and a coordinator to now kind of like the executive level, and finding out, how this operation actually got started. Before there's even one thing that rolls, you've got to have a contract and the financing for it and all of those wonderful things that come with that. So that was fun. That was actually a funny transition, because you would think that being in television and film and customer service and doing all these other roles, that I would not be a perfect role for a finance company, but here I was getting kind of headhunted, I guess. I was not even looking for that role, but PricewaterhouseCoopers reached out and they saw my resume online and noticed my background in entertainment and special events, and they wanted to go a different direction than they normally did. And so they brought me on and just kind of laid the groundwork for where I'm at today, with a lot of executive work with billing and finance and reporting and CRM platforms with Salesforce. Then we did a lot of onboarding with interns every summer, hundreds of interns actually all across the world. We had to, get with some global teams, and as well as initiate not just them coming on board, but also getting them certified with their I-9s, their equipment, their security background checks, and then making sure once the summer is over, getting everything back on and offboarding everyone as well. But some of them stayed and some of them didn't. But it was a very eye-opening experience with that, and loved incredibly so. And it taught me a lot. I'm sorry, I'm keep rambling because I could just keep talking
No
on it.
worries. No worries. That was definitely a great introduction to your professional experience, where you came from to where you are now, and how you were really able to go from, the television or the entertainment industry to more of the, corporate setting. That really shows me that you're fully adaptable into any role that you're placed into.
Absolutely.
And it really shows how you're able to just take in any information and kind of run with it and make it your own. You mentioned at, PwC, you've even handled more or less the onboarding process for the interns as well. For me, when I kind of look at that, it's kind of also like a project manager in the midst of all of that. So, I think that right there stands out to me, especially again with the different industries that you've worked in. So I know that we were talking a little bit about off screen as in reference to the type of role that you're looking for. Of course, you mentioned looking for either a remote, a hybrid schedule, or, perhaps a fully in office role close to your area. Now, as far as starting a new position, how soon are you looking to start?
I am available now. I'm available to go right away. So anything you've got available, you just let me know.
Absolutely. And if you don't mind sharing with me on camera here, what kind of roles pique your interest?
Well, right now, I love anything that has to do with any team projects or engagements that need to be done. I'm very familiar with starting from the ground up, creating that team, getting the resource together, creating the platforms or dashboard, so we have that open communication, and just diving headfirst wherever the project may lead, whether it be a takeover, or it would be a client rollout for a certain project, or even a product itself. It really is that process that I enjoy, because you get to involve different members from all across the globe, and I'm used to dealing with global teams a lot. So, if I'm up at 7:30 in the morning or 4:30 in the morning, because you just have to have that meeting, I've done that, and I have no problem with getting that done, because it's all about that completion and seeing something from the beginning to the end, which I love that process.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that with me as well, Joy. Now, in reference to some platforms or systems that you have utilized, do you mind sharing that with me?
Sure. We've done a lot of work in Workday for the talent acquisition portion of it, and kind of managing the schedules and hours off and things of that nature, and making sure things are staying within budget for their hours versus actual. A lot of times, the senior manager are always keeping those eyes out for that. Also with Salesforce, with our executive team for advisory at PwC. We use that a lot with our partners to kind of keep them up to date where their engagements or their projects were going, making sure we stayed on point as far as contract pricing is concerned, doing a lot of reporting in Salesforce as well, and getting that to our senior people, every week, 3 times a week, just making sure they were aware. And then also using that during our audit times also, because we want to make sure everything checks out correctly. So I'm used to expenses and things of that nature, and getting that to our salespeople or advisory people whenever they ask for that.
Absolutely. Very, very well rounded in many, many aspects. So I am super excited to get your profile out to a few hiring managers, Joy. I do want to conclude this interview and just thank you again for the time that you spent. I know I'm frozen again, but it just happens
You're
every time I
fine.
speak.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
So yes, allow me to go ahead and stop recording, but I would love for you to stick on the line with me really quickly just so we can chat.
Great.
Thank you.